Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope you guys are doing really, really, really well. I wanted to say thank you guys for being a part of the challenge. Yeah, as you guys can hear, I got a little backed up from Clutter to Clarity. I really do believe that God has something very, very, very special for each and every one of us because we've committed ourselves to really taking a moment and taking some days to be intentional about really developing and redeveloping and restructuring and realigning and repositioning us in our lives, in our own lives. A lot of the things that we don't see at this current place in time is not because God isn't faithful, but some stuff we have just missed out on because there was absolutely no room for it. So I'm excited about what's going to take place the next 11 days. This morning started off phenomenal with 6 a.m. prayer. And it was just what we needed to kind of reposition our minds and get our minds on track for what God's going to do over these next few days. And also in the midst of that, we got our very first assignment where we were to really ask God intentionally. We know that God is a provider, He's a restorer, He's a renewer. But in the midst of God being a provider, He's also a provider of information. And one thing that I know as a believer, because I've done it myself for so long, I've not always asked God the right questions. And so that was one of my focuses this morning, is making sure that we ask God the right questions, because He's faithful to perform and He's also faithful to give. He's faithful to pour out on us. And one of my favorite Bible verses is, "In all thy getting, get an understanding." Now, yes, technically I use it when I'm going bat to bat with somebody that I really don't want to go bat to bat with and I want a good resolve at the end of it. But it came to mind just now. In all that getting, get an understanding. Now, there will be moments in time where God will give it to us as we go, with our obedience is being tested and we're being led, into a new territory or into a new land. But also on the flip side of that, sometimes we just have to ask God the right questions at the right time, because He is a God of information. He has gone before us to make the crooked way straight. He's also gone before us to write out this thing called life for that each and every one of us has. And as long as we choose His will over ours, we'll always be able to follow according to the plan that He's predestined, that He wrote long before we were even here. Because we know that the Bible tells us He has plans to prosper us and to put us in good health and good wealth and put us before great men and all that good stuff like that. So with that, all that said, God is proactive and God is very detailed and He's very meticulous in His planning. God is the ultimate planner. And with God being the ultimate planner, we are embarking upon night number 1. Now, excuse me. My intention was to do this live via Facebook Live in our group, but as you guys can probably hear by now, I sound like Mr. Rogers, and even though I have an awkward voice already, I got some cold and some mucus and stuff in there. And so because I know that crafty devil is trying to stop what God is trying to release by closing my mouth, I said, you know what, Lord, I'm going to be proactive and pre-record tonight's teaching and put it in the group, and then tomorrow we'll go ahead and flow back into our lives. So just a really quick recap. Today we had the first assignment. If you don't have your mason jars, get your mason jars or your cup. We're going to use our swear jars, because every day we'll be dropping things in there that we're swearing to, or we're swearing to walk away from, that we're swearing to stay away from. Finally, it's like our commitment center, our commitment hub. So get you a cup, get you a mason jar, and at the end of the next Sunday, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, the last Sunday, we're going to do something to exercise with those items in the cup. So please, please, please get you something, get you some scrap sheets of paper. So anytime that you feel led, okay, this is what I need to get rid of, God is showing me where I need to declutter in this particular area, drop it in your jar, drop it in your cup. I believe that by the end of this, our cups are going to be literally running over. And that's going to be a great time for our cups to be running over, because our hearts and minds will be so clear and so ready to receive all that God has for us, and for us to be processed and ready to go forward. So with all that being said, jumping into tonight's first teaching. So tonight's first teaching really is called From Clutter to Clarity. So most people, we don't realize that we are operational in dysfunction, and not just operational. I mean, we excel in dysfunction. We have learned how to maneuver around dysfunction and dysfunctional people, dysfunctional settings, dysfunctional environments, dysfunctional atmospheres. We have learned how to thrive in the midst of dysfunction. Now, yes, part of that is us learning how to cope in different environments, but the other part of that. It's simply we're just used to operating in dysfunction because our lives are generally in dysfunction. Forget, we take away some of the pieces of life, or we can't take away any piece of life that has happened. We can't take away any experience that has happened. But what we can do is sometimes rid ourselves of it. We do this thing where we kind of like file life. We compartmentalize. Many of us are exceptional compartmentalists. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but if it is, it's a good word. We have learned how to position people here, how to block this here, how to place this person here, how to maneuver that this person gets 20% of me, this situation gets 90. We have learned how to spread out our lives in a manner that I believe has gotten so unhealthy because we spread out so much that there is so much stuff everywhere. It's almost like when you go into a room, you're looking for this one pair of jeans, but you have piles and piles and stacks and stuff everywhere. It's like, I'm going to have to dig through the clutter. I have to work harder to dig through what's there already in the way to be able to pull out what I need. And that's where a lot of us are in life, that because the things that we need are at the bottom of these piles, the bottom of these stacks, and we don't know which stack it's in. We don't know which room it's in. We don't know what corner of the house it's in. We are having to dig and pull up everything just to find that one thing that we're looking for. And because we are so lazy, and because we are not so disciplined, and because we are not so committed to it, we will go ahead and just pick whatever's on top of the stack just because we didn't want to have to do the work. We didn't want to have to dig. We didn't want to have to pull up. We didn't want to have to uproot. We just did not want to do what we needed to do to find what we need. And that is translated into every area of our life. We're looking for something that's so far down at the surface that because of the things that are on top, it's so much on top because we piled up stuff personally. We've chosen to pile up things. We don't even have the energy or the desire to unpack all that stuff because we have to deal with it as we pull. Okay, this came from this. Why is this even here? Why do I even have that? This isn't even mine. We have to go through all those emotions just to get to what it is we're looking for. And that's why decluttering is essential. We should probably declutter once a quarter. An intentional declutter, an intentional self-evaluation, an intentional assessment of where we are, what's going on, what's not going on. Because I know for a fact, and I see this in my own life, when things aren't working and things aren't happening, it's not because of me. Well, it is because of me, but it's because I have chosen to allow other things to stay in the way. Say it with me. I have chosen to allow certain things to stay in the way. Now listen to that statement one more time. I have chosen to allow certain things to stay in the way. There's a lot of self-responsibility in that. I have chosen to allow certain things to stay in the way. That's where we are. That one sentence probably sums up everybody watching this and everybody who probably should have joined the challenge. That one sentence does it. There's so much that we've allowed to stay in the way. Certain things we've allowed to stay in the way. And it all started with a choice. That's why I'm so glad that we are doing this together as a group, because we are choosing to allow certain things to get out the way, because we're pushing them out of the way finally. And so what we're going to do tonight, because I know that God has already started to speak to you guys about where you are and where you're cluttered at, I'm going to give you about 7 or 8 signs that lets you know that you are cluttered. Now, of course, this will go on. I have probably got about 20, but I'm going to give you the first few because I think this will help you really shift your mindset to what it needs to be and where it needs to be for us to go forward and to do what we need to do. So, in typical Evan fashion, I'm going to start with the tough one first. Had to get some water for that. I feel my help coming. No, but seriously. So the first sign that you are cluttered in whatever area, in every area, this goes across the board. So this teaching, these 7 points go across the board for cluttering and clutter nation. Sign number 1 that you are cluttered: stagnation. Stagnation. Many of us are familiar with this term. We have used it. Oh my God, I've become so stagnant. I have a philosophy that I stand by. I think that the term stagnation is not real. I don't believe in it. I actually believe that when we have fallen into this place of stagnation, we have actually started to quietly decline. And the worst part about a quiet decline is generally a quiet decline you don't see happening. You don't realize it's happening. You'll be quietly declining for a year, but because it hasn't been loud or boisterous, it hasn't caused any kind of ruckus or issues, you haven't even realized how far back you have gone and how far back you have, how far back you are. And all you can do is like, oh my God, how did I get here? It's because you quietly declined for so long without any noise. Because one thing about noise gets the attention of others. So when it comes to things like scandal and, I guess, getting fired and friendship issues, those certain things are like the big boom. But it's like, what about those things that led to those pieces? Those quiet pieces that we did not see because we didn't hear them. That's what allowed us to live in that place of stagnation. So that's the first sign that you're something in your life, and a lot of areas in your life are cluttered, is because if there's mass stagnation. Yes, mass stagnation. Stagnation across the board. Stagnation in your money, in your purpose, in your desire, in your drive, in your career. If there's a lot of stagnation, there's a lot of cluttering that we need to deal with. And even in the midst of that stagnation, a lot of us deal with the inability to make decisions. Stagnation, that quiet decline, your inability to make decisions. A lot of us are indecisive, and I tell you this, as a child of God, indecisiveness is not a part of your original makeup. But because we allow fear, worry, doubt, anxiety, all those things to step in, it allows us to be stagnant, aka quietly decline, and it causes us to live in a state where we are constantly unable, like constantly not able to do this or to do that or to think our way out of this or to serve our way. It leads you to a place where you are pretty much useless. It's almost like you're in a wheelchair. Somebody has to do something for you in order for you to get to where you're trying to go, because you become stagnant. So that's sign number one, stagnation. The second sign, if you are in constant cycles of oppression or depression, constant cycles. We can look at our life and we know that habits and routines are important. Healthy habits and healthy routines are actually important. But if you ever want to know, really want to be able to assess where you are and where you really are and deal with it, look at the cycles that you fall in. Are certain things happening around certain times? Are certain mindsets happening around certain times? Whether it's a holiday, whether it's a time of day, whether it's, or a time of the week. What's happening that's allowing you to stay in certain cycles, which are causing you to be depressed because you're not fulfilled in life. You don't find any reward or satisfaction in the life you live, and also oppressed because a lot of our cycles cause us to enroll into slaveries, into bondages of certain kinds, of all kinds actually, because we are in a cycle that we actually want to get out of, don't know how to get out of, but because we don't know how to get out of, we re-enroll, and because we have re-enrolled so much, we have become a slave to this cycle, when this cycle has now become so detrimental to us in our future that we are pretty much out here like, man, I am really messed up. I am really, really, really messed up. Sign number 3. Your lack of productivity and results. Your lack of productivity and results. This is one of my favorite ones, but not favorite ones because it's one of my toughest ones. I fall victim to this often. I'm going to declare and decree that I used to fall victim to this often, because when you are results driven, when you don't start to see the results you're looking for in the manner in which you have set out for them to be for them to have, or for them to look, you automatically go, oh my God, I haven't done anything. But in all actuality, you can't see that you've done anything because you've been doing so much, and you've probably been exhausting your energy in areas and in spaces that you did not need to. Every battle is not yours. Every assignment is not yours. There is a way to help, in a healthy no can be given in most situations to protect your own sanity, your own peace, and actually to protect your own productivity. You've got to be productive. And if you're not seeing any productivity across the board in your life, not just in one area, across the board, there's some clutter there. There is something there. There are probably a few things there that are blocking your ability to be productive. You are actually called, qualified, designed, and mandated to produce, to have fruit, to bear fruit, to give off results. You're supposed to complete some stuff. So your inability to complete a lot of things, I guess the spirit of a finisher is what a lot of preachers would call it. You without the spirit of a finisher, you're not finishing anything. That means that something did not go all the way to the manner in which it should have been. It's not okay. You are designed and mandated by God to do the work, start the work the work in the middle, but also to complete the work. God even completes the work that he does. Now, certain things are not going to be completed to the day of his return, but the day of Jesus Christ's return, but there is a completion aspect of the God that we serve. He is somebody who does all things well, and all things complete. So that is, you've got to be a part of your makeup. I'm a finisher. I'm a completer of tasks. I'm a person that is productive because I've gotten the stuff out of the way that's taking my energy that probably should not be. That's really where it goes down to. You're working on something. You're probably just not working on the right things. Also, for us who are super busy, like, oh my God, so busy. You ever just meet somebody and they're just like talking about all the stuff they're just so busy, and you can look at them and say, you are so busy, but I don't think we've seen anything that you completed, that you say that you've done. How are you so busy? What are you so busy on? There are more people in the world like that than the first few that came in your mind. Most of us used to be like that, or we're like that now. So busy, but we don't see anything. We have got to see stuff. We're living in a day and age now where a lot of people quietly and live by this motto: if you don't post it on Instagram, it didn't happen. If you don't post it on Instagram, you didn't go there. If you don't post it on Instagram, you don't drive that, you don't wear that. If you don't post it on Instagram, you didn't meet that person. We got to see something. I mean, as simple as it is, we really just have to see something. Number 4, I pray this is helping you. Number 4, your lack of personal priorities and goals. If you don't have any personal priorities or goals, you are cluttered. I know this is going to bust a few bolts. If you don't have any emphasis on personal goals, your children, great. Your husband, great. Your job, great. Your extracurricular activities that you're committed to, great. What are your personal goals? You are called to live your life for others and to do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. But you are also called to do something, to produce something, to go somewhere, to leave a lasting imprint. You have something to do. What sense would it make to get to heaven and he's going down your checklist and you did everything on that checklist for everybody else, but the 1 or 2 things that he designed you specifically for, you never touched? You know why? It's because you were disconnected with your personal goals and your personal desires because you were so connected to everything else. So for you who fall into this category, your clutter might be everything that you're working on that has nothing to do with you. That may be your clutter. That may be your arena or your space where you're like, what happened? That may be it. You may be working too hard and too consistently at everybody else's vineyard, but you're never touching your own. Take that one up with God. Number 5, poor relational skills. Poor relational skills. If you can't get along with people, you're cluttered. It's probably your heart. There's probably a few demons in there. Probably a few other things in there. But if you can't get along with people, if you don't have any friends, if you don't have a community. Now, I know certain seasons in life you'll be called to pull back away from that. But if you don't have a solid conglomerate of people that you can go to, that you can refer to as friend, community, accountability, you have a clutter issue. A lot of your clutter may be internal. It probably is internal. It's probably your inability to trust is because you probably can't be trusted. If you really look at it like that, a lot of us have an inability to trust people, but it's really because we know what we do, we know what we've done, we know what we've said, and we can say, how can somebody trust someone like me when I can't even trust me? When I know it. It's internal. You got to deal with that. You are not called to do life solo. Even though Jesus came into this world solo, he did not do much alone. He had a team. He worked with people. He was around people. You've got to come out of your little cave. If not, your life's probably not going to be very fulfilling or effective. In the Bible, the disciples went out 2 by 2, so you've got to have at least one partner. If you're going to do ministry, you've got to have at least one ministry road dog. So this is for you all. You've got to have good relational skills. Some of the best lessons in life are taught through and by other people. One of the things I used to say in prayer all the time is that God's not going to get off his beautiful throne all the way up there and just kind of step in to like my misdemeanor situations. But what he's going to do is going to prick the heart and tug on the heart of a man or woman in the earth, and they're going to be able to provide whatever needs to be provided in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion that needs to come. Remember that. Relational skills, relationships, friendships, you need that. They actually matter. There's a great quote that says, if you want to know where you're going, look at your friends. If you are looking for, if you're having an identity crisis, you don't know where you're going, how your future's going to look, and if you don't have any friends, you don't even have a viewpoint. It's like, okay, you know what? At least have some friends that realize, these are not the friends for me, and start to do the work to deprogram and to rewire yourself so that you can attract the people that are going to your future, that are going to take you to your future. But you got to realize, you got to come out of being a loner. That's the devil. You always want to be by yourself. You want to stay by yourself. That is the devil. God is not in that. Okay? Number 6, a lack of drive and ambition. Number 6, a lack of drive and ambition. Hear me, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Sick and all, hear me. You ready? Nothing pains me worse than to see someone with no drive and absolutely no ambition. It pains me. You know why? Because no drive and no ambition let me know you really don't even feel like you have anything to live for. And why would you not feel like you have something to live for in this beautiful green earth? It's because you got a whole lot of stuff in the way. Internally, in your mind, in your actions, in your decision making. You've got to work on that. Drive and ambition are the vehicles to success. Drive and ambition are the vehicles to success. And guess what? Success is a journey and it has a destination. Guess what? If you don't have a car, you're not going to get there. You have got to have a mode of transportation to get to that place called there in destiny, to get to that place called there in your future, to get to that place in wholeness and purity and peace and comfort and compassion. Wherever you're trying to get to, there has to be a vehicle that gets you there. If there's no vehicle, you're not going anywhere. The last one, number 7, for the 7 signs that you are cluttered, you have unhealthy outlets. Now, this is not condemnation, okay, guys? This is real life. And I know I can say it because I've been there. Unhealthy outlets. Unhealthy outlets. There are so many ways for us to relieve frustration that is not going to cause our soul to be sent to hell, or for us to live in eternal damnation, or for us to do mortifying things to our bodies. There is a way to healthily deal with your need for frustration, your need for outlets. I think that one of the key indicators of clutter in your life is when there are no healthy outlets. You know when you're being healthy. You know when you're not being healthy. Healthy outlets are essential because healthy outlets will save your life. A lot of people, first off back, turn to eating when they're sad and they're lonely and they're depressed. That is not a healthy outlet. They will turn to drinking or smoking or doing drugs, as we call them on social media. You do drugs? That is not a healthy outlet. Sex, masturbation, not a healthy outlet. Something that could be considered a healthy outlet, maybe jogging, reading, sewing if you like to sew, writing. We have to find healthy outlets. Our lack of healthy outlets really lets us know what other areas that are cluttered in our lives, because we don't even see clearly now that this is not really helping me. Us getting high and drunk is not going to do very much, because once you sober up and once you come down off your high, you just spend extra money because you Uber eated and got food. And then if you were drunk, you might run the risk of oversleeping, and you might get sick, and you might have to clean up your home. You know, if you're having sex, you may have a whole baby before your time. You know, all these, if you're eating, you can you can get diseases from being unhealthy, from eating too much and overeating. It's essential for us to have healthy outlets. Healthy outlets are healthy. When you have healthy outlets, you are able to see clearly, because you know what to do with your frustration, how to bottle it up, and when to release it. So healthy outlets. So those 7 signs that if you're cluttered were stagnation, cycles of oppression and depression, lack of productivity and results, lack of personal priorities and goals, poor relational skills, aka no friends, not any new friends, but no friends, and then the next one, lack of drive and ambition, and number 7, unhealthy outlets. I pray that this blessed you all, and most importantly, that this gave you something to really think about. I'm excited about tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's prayer session will be led by my sister Jessica Williams of Huntsville, Alabama. She is the only African American female publishing company owner in the state of Alabama called King Vision. So anybody who desires to write a book, a manual, a devotional, greeting cards, or whatever, contact her, www.kingvision.com. But she'll be leading us out in prayer at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and also tomorrow night. My spiritual mother, Pastor Maya White, will be leading us in decluttering our hearts. I tell you this, these two phenomenal women of God, you do not want to miss. Jessica's going to pray our hearts and possibly give us some assignments to work on throughout the day. And then Pastor Maya's going to come back tomorrow night with a teaching that's going to really rock us and give us something to truly, truly work on and embody and walk out. And then the next morning, we'll be back again at 6 a.m. to pray about the heart. So after we prayed about the hearts, dealt with the hearts, we're going to pray about the hearts again and allow God to be God. And then we're going to keep on going with the rest of our week. So I thank you guys for being a part. Again, the portal closes tonight at midnight. So if you know anybody else that needs to be a part, tag them in this video. Let them know, hey bro, hey girl, you need to be a part of this. I'm getting my life together, and I want you to be there with me. As I get mine together, you can get yours together too. So thank you all again. Of course, if you have any information about me, any information that you need from me, or if you're interested in what I do with Vision Birthers, go to my website, www.iamevanbrown.com. And again, I look forward to seeing you guys bright and early in the morning. Have a good one.